My
saying?
boy Easy has a story of when he was on the palm trend. He says he used to ride the palm trend and used to still think he was better than everyone on the. He would look down at everyone in the palm trend. He said he would never try to talk to a girl or anything that was riding the palm trend.
Why is that a thing? Because people also look down on like bus riders. Like, oh, you have to ride. You ride a bus.
You ride the bus. Yeah, even in New York, it's a thing. You don't have a car. You don't got a car.
But even in New York, the train riders look down on the bus riders.
Mm-hmm.
The bus riders are like I ain't taking the bus.
Well,
get us into that next topic.
What's definitely wild, right, is, replacing cars with other methods of transportation. Is it viable? Think we can replace cars and not use it anymore?
Do you think it's crazy to replace cars with what makes you think that it's out of your mind? Like, what are these people thinking?
I think for some things, right, like transporting goods across the country, like I feel like you need semi trucks to move things around.
Absolutely.
So you're gonna need highways to do that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's trucks or trains, basically, right? That's
ambulances, delivery trucks to the stores. You're gonna need these goods and services, and you're gonna need roads for these things, right?
And there are some people that just work far. Like I told you, if you took a train from the Bronx to Far Rockaway, that's a 2 hour and some change ride.
2.5.
Like you're not ain't nobody hitting that commute to go to work like in a I don't know who's doing that commute to work.
There are people that do
from
that.
the Bronx. Well, there you go. That shit doesn't seem reasonable. So I think you need a car. You got to hit them expressways. You got to hit them highways.
Well, New York has the unique thing that you won't get a job in Far Rockaway, but everybody kind of meets in the middle in Manhattan. And if you're not in Manhattan, you're just outside of Manhattan, like Long Island City where Jesus lives, or Uptown, or the ending of the Bronx Yankee Stadium, where it's just like this little oval of jobs. So everybody outside the city commutes in, and then they have their job in Manhattan or wherever it may be. But for the most part, everybody, commutes in New York.
And you got people, Pennsylvania, New Jersey,
Pennsylvania,
into New York
Connecticut.
City.
You got the Metro Transit that comes in from Connecticut. So, yes.
So I think for some of these people, I've taken the train from New York to Jersey. It's like, yo, and a lot of people do this. Like a lot of people that used to work like on Wall Street and things like that, they'd be riding that train right into Manhattan from Jersey and shit.
Yeah.
So I think there's some cases where you definitely gonna need cars.
A lot of cities
doing his best ta-da right now.
Yeah, a lot of cities in Texas are very spread out, and I don't find that bikes would be very efficient. Like in Austin, for example, Houston, they're just such wide cities. They just cover so much area, and there's not any of the infrastructure you would need to be able to make that happen. You're going to get on the fucking highway on even your e-bike and do 30 miles per hour down the highway? Hell no. I saw it. I almost hit a dude on a bike the other day because he was on the exit from the highway biking. You're coming off that exit at 45 miles per hour, even if at the slowest, if you're slowing down. Shit's dangerous, man.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be on a road that has a speed limit of 65 miles per hour on a vehicle that can do 30 miles per hour, 35 miles per hour.
No, that's what I'm saying.
When Track Bike Tony went on to the fucking Major Deegan, the Cross Bronx Expressway, I was like, oh my God. Like I couldn't believe that he was doing something that crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like most of this, getting rid of the cars for like normal everyday drivers, it only works in the cities. That's it. Something like New York, California, probably, or some parts of Atlanta or whatever, maybe. But in like Texas, like places that are stretched out, you need a car. Like you just need it. Like there's no way.
Yeah, but I think part of the conversation is
how could we fix that?
Why did the city planners build a city in such a way where cars were mandatory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
bullshitters.
there's a growing trend. I think a couple cities have done this where they're building like these little towns that they're just walking towns. So it'd be like this big, like, think of it like a giant plaza or a couple blocks, and everything you could need is kind of in that walking distance for the most part. And then of course you could leave to drive or bike to go to work and things like that. But they're trying to build these little hubs where there's like movie theaters, there's entertainment, there's food, there's restaurants, there's grocery stores, there's all types of things, and it's all within walking distance. I think that shit is cool. That's how we used to build places, like before cars were around. That's how these places used to get built up. It's like, look, people are going to be living in these places. They need to walk around. They need to do things. Like, they need access to things.
There was a video series that I fell into a weird YouTube rabbit hole. I think it was one of the biking videos that Doughy sent, and from there I ended up, 20 clicks down, I ended up at this dude's page, right? And he's an urban planner. That's all he does. He does urban planning.
I did share that.
And he was talking about the three that there's basically three kinds of roads. There's three different kinds of like means of moving things, and it's like streets, roads, and highways. Those are like essentially like the three kinds. It may not be exactly those kinds. And towns in Europe are designed around that concept, though. One of them is for residential kind of things. One of them is for commercial things, and then there's the highways should only be for moving between towns. But that's not the way that that most U.S. cities are designed. The highways go down the middle. The highways exit straight into the business centers. There's not a lot of this design that you see in like European cities, because a lot of European cities, from what I've heard, are more bike friendly. They're more bike centric. They're designed for pedestrians to walk around. U.S. cities aren't even fucking friendly for pedestrians for the most part. You're walking on roads that have 60, 55 mile per hour like speed limits, and that shit is dangerous. Anything over like I think 30 miles per hour in a vehicle, you will die if you get hit by a vehicle. The chance of surviving a vehicle to pedestrian crash at that speed is pretty damn low.
Not only that, but if you look at the percentage, how much of the road do the cars get, and how much of the road do the pedestrians, do the cyclists, do the buses get? The cars by far out margin everybody else. Like, we're giving cars the dominant experience on the roads. Also to that, there's also the high death rates in cars and car crashes. And we saw the one in Houston recently with the nurse. She was speeding 90 miles an hour, smashed into two cars, killed 6 people. One person was in the womb. She got charged for murdering somebody in the womb.
Dude, I was driving to work the other day, and this road that I'm driving on has a speed limit of like 45 or something like that, right? This little section I'm on. There was a car that was flipped over. I don't know how the hell this person managed to flip their car over on a flat road with a speed limit of 40 miles per hour.
You can
but
do it.
They found a way.
Some cars also aren't built. Some cars are built top heavy, shit like that. Like, they're easy to roll over. Mm-hmm. I just it's about to be 3 years now of biking and cycling. It's just opened my mind up to like, you don't need a car anymore. You can have a bike. You can even have a really good scooter and get anywhere you need to in Manhattan faster.
You can have a penny farthing.
Do you think
I don't think you have a penny farthing, but I think if you have like a one wheel, a unicycle, an electric unicycle, those things are really convenient to use. I think a lot of this is going to move into electric use vehicles, and
it's
like
already there, but I think it's
scooters.
It's like it's funny that he says that, like, he thinks like bike is the new wave. But it's like, what do you think back in the days when they were doing horseback, and then they introduced the bike, and then they introduced the first car? Like, they were like, yo, fuck a bike, fuck a horse. The car is the wave. And now it's just like slowly becoming like...
I don't mean to interrupt, but the reason why New York is the way it is because it was before the car was created. New York was mostly horse carriage. So the way that they designed New York was mostly with trains and mass transportation trolleys and horse carriages and walking and bikes and shit like that. That's what it was designed for. The creation of cars came afterward, and then they designed New York around cars. So you'll still see the subways. There's great ways to get around New York without actually having to step into a vehicle.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's.
But what point were you making, Tony?
My point is, it's funny how like a circle of life kind of comes back, right? Like we're trying to get away from all this traffic issues, all this pollution and shit. We'll go into electric, more of an electric way of thinking. And if we just build, like you said, if you just like structurally build cities to get rid of cars, then sure, like we wouldn't have nearly enough pollution. We wouldn't have all these issues.
It's not about getting rid of cars. It's about reducing
the amount of cars. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, ideally you would get rid of them though, right?
I don't think society can live without it. At the point where we're at, you're gonna need ambulances. You're gonna need delivery trucks.
Yeah, we're talking about for personal use.
For personal use, reduce.
I mean, even for personal use, you're talking about like reducing daily use, because like road tripping is still such a big part of the American like experience, right? But road tripping is a big part of the American experience because cross country travel fucking sucks. Your only option is to fly. Airlines are fucked right now. I'm nervous about my flight tomorrow. I'm just gonna show up like 2.5 hours early for my flight because I'm worried about traveling, especially on a holiday weekend. But like, trains aren't viable. Who wants to spend fucking 24 hours on a train to do a trip that you could do in 2 or 3 hours on a plane, right? No one. Who the hell has that time?
I use the Amtrak up here, and although Amtrak is a little bit overpriced, I really enjoyed my commutes back and forth from Providence to New York. That was my favorite way to getting. Even now, I don't think I'd take a plane up to Boston. I'd go to Penn Station, get on an Amtrak, and go up to Boston that way. It just is efficient.
Is it time efficient though? Like how long does that trip
2.5 hours. 2.5 hours.
It's a little longer. It's a little longer than driving, but
about 30 minutes longer than driving. 45 minutes longer than driving.
I did the commute with Doughy before, coming from Providence. I flew to Providence, visited some family, hopped on a train, went to New York, and hung out with Dough and shit like that, and then chilled with the family.
That's right.
And yeah, it's just nice. You know, we got on the train, me and my wife. And, you know, I was playing video games, talking shit, reading books. It's just nice to not have to engage with traveling while traveling. You know what I mean? And I forgot what city. I'm actually curious. I think it was like Arizona or something like that. They had like this fleet of vans that they were building out, these self-driving vans that they were gonna like unleash onto the city. And the idea was these vans would just pick people up and commute them around for free. So people would just request a van will pull up. There might be other people, it might have other stops, it was drop people around. But the idea was to get people to stop driving cars. And they had like, the city has like some number of like millions of drivers or whatever. And they were like, yeah, a couple hundred vans could service this entire city if, mapped out efficiently. You know what I'm saying? And they would like greatly reduce the number of cars on the road. They'll eliminate a ton of traffic, a ton of pollution. And people get to relax while commuting. You know what I mean? They just hit a thing up. They sit down. They do whatever the fuck they want. They can have drinks. They could do whatever the fuck they want, on their way to wherever they need to go.
The higher education, when I used to get on the trains back to New York, there are people that commute from Providence and Boston all the way down to New York. When I was taking it was before COVID, so it was like almost every week, every day they would come and back and forth. I don't know how much that ticket, that Amtrak daily cost is, but that shit must be like $5,000, $6,000 at the end of the year.
For a student though, that's what, 5 hours where you're just on a train. You can just bunker down and do your studying. You can knock that shit out on your little trip.
Yep.
Most of trains will be helpful as hell in Florida too, because if we just had more trains and different avenues dropping off, it'll be great. But it's just the fact is that it's just so far out. Like I wouldn't mind taking a train services 24 hours from here to Miami or something. I can go get fucked up in Miami and take a train back where I ain't got to drive. Ubers is kind of expensive when you do that in certain areas, and that's a little hassle too, trying to order an Uber sometimes. But it's like
y'all Florida boys can't be trusted with a party train back from Miami. Imagine being on that 3 a.m. train back from Miami. It's just a rolling like a party on a train, basically.
It'll be partying, fights, and throw ups all on that train, all the way back to
yeah, they're gonna have to have a hell of a cleaning service.
The Palm Beach Tran is probably one of the worst metro buses I've ever been on in my entire life. Is the Austin? I expect Austin to be a little bit better.
No, the Austin buses are pretty not great. They're not super reliable. The routes suck. There was a drunk train in Austin or a drunk bus that we used to ride. And it was garbage. And the Metro Rail in Austin sucks. Like, it doesn't run on certain days of the weekend. It stops running at like 9 p.m. or some shit like that. I don't think those hours have changed. It's been a while since I've been on the train. I'm happy to be corrected if they have expanded the service, but our train service is also terrible.
Yo, Palm Tran might suck, yo. I used to ride Palm Tran every single day to go to the boxing gym. I used to take the bus across the street from the gym. I used to have to transfer. I used to go take the bus to the Wellington Mall, get on another bus, and go up right across the street from the gym. Then I'd walk a couple blocks to get to the gym. I used to take it every day. It's not that bad. It sucks in terms of like where it goes. Like, you could ride a bus in New York and get within walking distance anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's not available with a lot of public transit. It's like you get dropped off in a region and you still need to get a ride from where you got dropped off to where you're trying to go. So like, even Tony's saying, oh, we could take a train from Miami to Palm Beach. It's like, all right, once you get there, you gotta figure out how you're gonna get home. Like, you might be miles from the house. So shit like that just sucks. You know what I'm saying?
My boy Easy has a story of when he was on the Palm Tran. He says he used to ride the Palm Tran and used to still think he was better than everyone on the. He would look down at everyone in the Palm Tran. He said he would never try to talk to a girl or anything that was riding the.
Why is that a thing? Because people also look down on like bus riders. Like, oh,
Yes.
you ride a bus.
You ride the bus. Yeah, even in New York, it's a thing. You don't have a car. You don't got a car.
That's my
Yeah, but
favorite.
even in New York, the train riders look down on the bus riders. The
crazy.
bus
Old
riders are
people.
like I ain't taking the bus.
That's
Yeah,
why
the train
I
riders
think the
do
bus
look
is
down
just
on
more
them.
complicated. It has a far more complicated transfer system. Getting from places is more complicated. So I think everybody looks down on the bus riders. Nobody knows the city better than the bus riders. You know, they know where all the stops are. They know all the places they could transfer at. They know all the little nooks and crannies every bus is gonna take them.
The problem with the
that
New York buses is that they stop every 2 or 3 blocks, and it just feels like you're going nowhere.
Oh, you are actually making good time though. But I will say, to Pucho's point, that transit map for the bus, it looks like a map of like the nervous system, like in the human body.
Yeah, it's
For New
crazy.
York especially.
That's my favorite thing about New York is how fast I can get somewhere if I want to, or I feel like everything's in arm reach. Like, it's just, that's what I like about it, bro. Like, we went to Manhattan, then we went to I don't know what it was called, something College Village or some shit. I don't know. Point blank, like, we went to so many different fucking areas that in a matter of like hours, we traveled 3 different fucking Queens, Bronx, Manhattan. We're just in these cities. It's just like, that's the one thing I like about it. And every corner there's a fucking bodega. Every corner there's food. Every corner there's drinks. There's a bar. There's events. The shit's lit. New York City is a lit place to visit. Like I said, I would never want to live, but I would like to visit.
Here's the thing.
There was a time in my 20s when I really wanted to move to New York.
Here's the thing about New York, and this is why people move to New York from outside of the United States early, because when you have a resume that says that you work in New York or you worked in any of these high capacity jobs where you had to be seeing hundreds of people and you had to be dealing with hundreds of people, wherever else you go in America and they see that, it's like an automatic, like, yeah, this guy's good to go. He's worked in New York. He's seen a variety of different types of people. He's been under the stress of a lot of work. This is the kind of guy that we want for our company. And that's why people, they do their 10 years in New York when they do go to college, and when because it's
I mean, it's also a salary booster, honestly. I mean, I would get a 25, 30, 40% salary boost just by taking a job in New York compared to taking a job in Austin.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wild. But yeah, I don't know. One day we'll get out of this fucking personal driving and get into, viable.
I want jetpacks. I want to fly to my job.
I want a teleportation. I want to open up a door and just go through it.
Yeah, yesterday I went to this restaurant, right, with my wife. We had the day off and went out to eat lunch, and they were doing some construction. All the fucking roads to this restaurant was closed. I had to park, we had to park, a ways away from the restaurant and walk through and past construction to get to this restaurant. And on the way back, after, I'm all nice and full from lunch, I'm walking back to the car, and I'm just like, I wish I was Goku, man. I wish I could just instant transmission right back to the house and just be done with this shit. Like,
would you be happy if you had like a scooter to get to your car, that you could just like scooter your way to your car around all that and then just pop the scooter in your trunk after you're done?
No, he wants that self-valet, dude, with the smart cars, that shit that they were like, oh, the car would just drop you off at the restaurant. It'll go park itself. You come out, you do a little boop, boop on your device. The car comes and picks you up. That's what I want.
Bro, like, just as simple as fucking, as he's saying he wants instant transmission. Bro, I just want, I can, this fucking door right here. I put a keypad there. I hit Pucho's house. I open that door. I'm right in front of Pucho's door, nigga. I want something like that. I want to live in that future. That's where I want to live
creating
at.
portals.
I want to be fucking, what happened?
I was looking up the routes to ride my bike to Florida.
Get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
Yeah, I was looking up the routes.
Not with that broken frame.
The cracked motor mount. Yeah, I have to take that in on Tuesday. Hopefully it's not that, but my motor is definitely moving around.
You can actually do it on your electric bike too. Get a solar panel, put on the back, and just drive.
I think personally, with the amount of time I'm wasting charging up my bike in between charge sessions, maybe I don't charge it up at all and I ride it without the battery for the rest of the day. I'll just ride it on eco, 20-30% of the battery and motor. I can maybe get 120 miles. You don't really want to do more than 100 to maybe 150 miles a day before you start resting. So it would take me maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get down to Florida. It'd take me like two on a bike. Yeah, just resting, charging, doing all the stuff that I need to do. Not to say I wouldn't get any flats. Something on my bike could break. All that stuff is a variable. And if I don't have anything to fix it with, I'm assed out. And that's where my journey ends.
That's a trip that would require some planning for sure, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That's crazy. So I just mapped it, and it will take me 5 days and 7 hours to get to where Zeus's location is on bike.
Yeah.
But yeah, though, I need to send you, there's this podcast called Heavyweight. And there's it tells the story of these brothers that they took a 240-mile bike trip when they were 10 years old. They went from like one city to another city, and it took them like 3-4 days. They camped some nights. They got to sleep in a hotel, and they did it with like 4 friends on bikes. I don't know. That shit sounded super fun.
The guy who inspired me to get back into biking just biked from New York to Wyoming.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that looked incredible. And then he started doing some funky stuff where he started wearing open-toed sandals and started painting all his toenails. And I wasn't really all into that. I was like, ew.
Aren't you a fan of the clear coat on your nails?
Yeah, clear coat's fine. Colors are a little weird for me.
What's wrong with putting colors on your nails?
I think colors are rad, man. It's the amount of rock stars that I've watched that paint their nails different colors. Like I think
He
it's rad as hell.
also he
It's rock and
also
roll.
was wearing these weird looking sandals. It was like a thong sandal, but it was just the one in the middle that went up, and then
like
it like
ninja
had
sandals.
a strap on the top. Yeah, it was really hard for me to watch those streams. To be completely honest.
So those minimalist sandals. I told you when I was in college, it was a hippie, what the fuck was he? Like a teaching assistant, a hippie teaching assistant. It was like a plank of wood and like a ribbon. And he just like wrapped the ribbon around his foot in the wood. And he was just walking around clumping, clack, clack, clack. And I'm like, yeah, that shit is terrible. But it was like sustainable shoes, you know?
That dude's got no arch on his foot anymore. He's just got a flat ass foot now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up. Hit that share button. Subscribe to our YouTube page. We're on all social media platforms. Man, and as always, as the CEO and my co-host here, go one up yourself. Peace.
Peace.